in the night, your heart fills with dread. Probably a murderer who wants you dead. It could be a ghost, a demon, or worse. Perhaps you're the victim of a witch's curse. It's hopeless, you're doomed. You'd call a priest if you could. You'd rather just listen to who? Sinisterhood. Hello and welcome to another edition of Freaky Friday, where we tell your odd but true stories. It is Friday, February 28th, the last Friday in February. What the fuck?
Last day, isn't it?
Yeah, and also the last Friday and the last day. No,
last year was a leap year.
We got February 31st is the day I'm looking for. All my problems will be solved on February 31. Just waiting for it.
You're like Ron Swanson,
yes,
who has one day a month where people can, or one day a year where people can air their grievances.
All of you come talk to me on February 31. I have come to really appreciate how we all mark the time together on these. I mean, I know we have an episode every Wednesday and we have for longer than we've had Freaky Fridays, but I don't know, something about talking about it being Friday helps like mark the time.
Friday.
If
you
Yay,
wish
indeed.
I hadn't said that.
Do you remember like a time when like we would say Friday, we meant it? Because like we were like, we got
hump day.
Yeah.
Hump day.
Hump day.
First of all, that commercial still holds up. That camel in the office, that gets me every time.
Truly true. We watched a little thing on YouTube yesterday. It was like a breakdown of like the cultural impact of Office Space. And they were saying like at the time when it was released in theaters, it like didn't even break even on its budget, but then obviously went on and like direct to consumer, like became a cult classic. And I told Paris, I would rather have written and directed Office Space than like Avatar or Titanic. Like, because if you really think about like Office Space has become much like Hump Day, like that's some dumbass thing. Hump Day, but it like becomes part of the cultural
zeitgeist. I feel like
Office
Space would have been way more fun to write and film than Titanic.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, you're not freezing in water. You're like, I'm going to need you to get those TPS reports in.
Is that my stapler?
One of them has John C.
I haven't watched that in
McGinley.
so long. I got to watch that. Filmed in Austin.
I bet it still holds up. Yeah, filmed in Austin and like several Texas like references as well. That's you can always rely on Mike Judge,
baby.
Hell yeah, hometown hero Mike Judge. Well, welcome to Freaky Friday. This is quite a lineup. Runs the gamut as always. Thank you to everybody who's taken the time to write these in.
Truly.
I can't believe them.
This, before we jump into it, just this first one, I just have to say, this point of view is a story that we haven't shared maybe ever as a first person point of view from Freaky Friday or even like interviews or anything. So while this is sent in anonymously, I would just like to commend you, Anonymous, for having the courage to talk about this because as we'll see, it is something that is traumatizing and happens to people. And until I think you're in it, you don't realize, oh shit, I'm really lonely and I don't know who to talk to about this. And Anonymous has provided a resource that I did not know existed, but I'm happy to know does now.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Anonymous, for sharing your story because as you felt alone, someone who may be listening may feel alone or may know someone, and it may serve to be the community that you were searching for. So thank you for being generous.
Yeah, it's a whole category of people that while you're like, oh, yeah, that happens, it didn't, I haven't really thought much about it. And that's on me because now I will think more about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm Christy.
I'm Heather.
And let's get freaky. Well, as we said, the first one is from Anonymous and the subject line is, I am an accidental killer. Howdy, ladies. Y'all have been in my ears for years and your humor has helped me get through so much in the last however many years I've been listening. I wanted to write in not just to share my story, but also share the resource that has helped me more than anything. Last summer, while driving for one of my jobs around Dallas, I had the worst experience of my life. I won't go into details as I'm still waiting to hear what will happen criminally and civilly, but suffice to say, I accidentally took the life of an unhoused woman. I wasn't distracted. I didn't do anything illegal. It was just a freak accident. It took me what felt like several minutes, though it was probably less than 30 seconds, to process the nightmare that had just occurred. As soon as it clicked, I dialed 911 as I ran to her side. I was with her until the first officer arrived and began CPR, at which point I stepped back to give space. Side note, I knew I should have begun CPR myself before he arrived, but I was literally frozen. I completely doubted my judgment and haven't been able to truly trust myself since. I will never forget the two women who prayed over us as I sat by her side, then held and prayed for me as I sobbed watching her receive CPR. She was loaded into an ambulance, and while she continued to receive CPR en route to the hospital, I believe she already passed before it ever began. My at-the-time fiancé was just minutes down the road for work and was by my side as soon as he physically could be. He called my parents and boss for me, all of whom came right away to be with me. I can't imagine how difficult that call would have been to make or receive. I went to see my therapist that night with my parents and fiancé. I had the best support I could possibly ask for, and I'm so incredibly grateful for that. But I still felt so alone. For the first few days, I felt such a deep, painful shame. I felt like I disappointed everyone in my life. Over the next couple of months, that somewhat eased, but the guilt still hangs around. While the waves, how I refer to the guilt hitting, as it literally feels like being rammed by a powerful wave, have lessened in frequency, I don't think I'll ever truly recover from this. Now to share the resource that helped me the most. This event was so isolating because nobody could possibly understand except those in the Hyacinth Fellowship, or THF. THF is for those of us who have unintentionally harmed or killed, as well as our family and friends, because let's face it, while they might not have been in our shoes, they absolutely went through a trauma of their own, or at least I know mine did. I was lucky enough to attend my first fellowship Zoom meeting just 5 days after my accident. It was so powerful to see that I wasn't alone in this. While participation is 100% optional, even in that first meeting, I found myself unexpectedly opening up, sobs and all. I've never once felt judged, just loved, supported, and most importantly, understood. The Hyacinth Fellowship has been a lifeline, not just for me, but many, many others as well. Every person I've talked to on the Zoom meetings has been kind, compassionate, and so understanding. There is zero judgment. Doesn't matter what you did or who it was. We are all accidental killers, and we get it. Their website is hyacinthfellowship.org. It's been a little over 7 months since that awful day. I still relive it daily, but I'm slowly healing. I married the love of my life 3 months after the accident, which was a feat in and of itself due to the debilitating depression, making it difficult to feel anything other than numb. But it was the wedding of my dreams and the best day of my life. I now live almost my dream life. The only thing missing is my job, as I'm still on my healing journey and working toward that next step. I hope no one listening actually needs Hyacinth, but if they do, I hope it helps. Being an accidental killer means being a part of one of the shittiest clubs out there, but we have a community. We aren't alone. And while we're sad you're here, we're also happy you're here.
Wow. Thank you, first of all, for sharing that resource, for sharing your story. But that really goes to show you the power of A, community, and B, the recognition, like we always talk about, that spiraling, rippling effect of these incidents like this, even when it's unintentional, you know, the perpetrator, and I say that lightly. I mean, I don't mean that you did anything wrong, but the person who, was responsible, even in a freak accident situation, has to deal with those feelings. And then, like you said, friends, family, fiance, colleagues, like the fact that this resource is out there is so valuable. I've never heard of this. I had no idea. Thank you. Thank you for sharing it.
I didn't either. We'll link the website in our show notes. I've gone to it and it's exactly how Anonymous describes. And I imagine for those that find themselves in this horrible circumstance, this really is a lifeline, because of course we think of the victim's family, and oftentimes the person that may have accidentally done something kind of gets left out of the picture as being someone that also has a lot of trauma that they're going to carry with them forever, probably. You just learn to maybe cope and deal. But what a horrible thing to happen, period. And then to find yourself having to kind of navigate completely uncharted territory alone. But now, thanks to Anonymous, we know that you don't have to be alone if you have found yourself in this very unfortunate club as well.
No, it's something that I think a lot of us, when we are removed from incidents like this, you pass an accident on the side of the road, or you see a headline of like, this thing, something malfunctioned, a train malfunctioned, a roller coaster malfunctioned or something. And when you drill down to it, like somebody is the one that turned the wrench that caused that malfunction or didn't strap the thing as it should have been. And that's not to say, oh, that person needs to be, pointed out and harangued. Quite the opposite of criminally or whatever. It's responsible. Like, oh God, that's another person that is involved in this that still, like you said, lives their life and has to go on and stuff. So while things can be freak accidents where you're not morally held to it, nobody can even punish you more than yourself, even when you're not deserving of punishment. So I think it's a beautiful thing that you all are able to find one another, Anonymous, and understand like you're not because I'm sure you think I'm the worst person in the world. I'm a monster. I'm the worst. And that's just, not true. It's the worst day of our lives don't define us, as we so often say on the show. And I think that goes both ways for sure.
Yeah. And it's great that it's also a resource for family members because they, and like the trickle out effect, of course, they're affected. Their loved one is suffering and, depressed. To get married right after that, I'm glad you're able to find some happiness in that day. Maybe some relief from your brain for a few hours at the very least.
That's something that's, you don't want to move your whole wedding, change your whole life, but it definitely changes you and changes what you expected your wedding to be. So having other people that are similarly situated to you, I'm glad you were able to find them.
Yeah. It doesn't really say on the website if people that have witnessed a crime, this is for them. But like the two women that stopped and prayed, that's traumatic too. I mean, I still, like yesterday, remember when I saw a man die in a parking lot that I was trying to administer CPR to. He also, I believe, had passed before loaded into the ambulance as well. But it's, to witness those things, they shouldn't be minimized. Even if you're like, well, I didn't really have a hand in it. I was just kind of there. Trauma is trauma. Trauma is anything that, prevents you from living your day-to-day life like you normally would.
No, most definitely. And I think too, you're right. Like not diminishing the participants, like those people that came to pray with you. Like, I love how Anonymous specifically mentioned them, like how helpful that is, because I think often we think, oh, well, I don't want to like go over there and bother or like, I'm going to stay out of it. And it's like, if your heart calls you to go and like be with someone and hold them, it sounds like it made a huge difference for Anonymous and will, I'm sure, make a huge difference for, a friend of his and his wife were killed in a car accident. And they, afterwards, the family was able to hear from the people who ran down on scene and was like with them in their final moments. And that was very comforting for my dad and his friends and family of the two people we lost, because you're like, thank you, stranger. Quite literally, a stranger was just like, I heard this loud noise and I just took off running and, held their hands and everything. So in those moments, we hope that we will rise to the occasion. But you're right. Like afterwards, you're also the bystander, not even bystander, the comforter at the time is also left with something as well. We're just all connected.
Yeah, it's important to take care of yourself in all the ways and to not diminish your feelings, like you said.
Most definitely.
Well, thank you again, Anonymous. This was a point of view that I haven't considered enough, and I will now. And I love that we have this resource now if anyone else needs that.
Thank you. Sinisterhood will be right back. Well, I am an avid runner, and one thing I do not do enough is drink enough water. I drink coffee all the time, and I try to drink water. And when I'm drinking water, I also want to have it be maximized and delicious. So it's not just plain, and that is where Cure comes in.
Maximize that hydration with only 25 calories per serving and 0 added sugars or artificial sweeteners. It gives you pure, natural hydration. Cure is doctor approved and it's safe for the whole family. Even kids as young as 1 can enjoy it.
But what sets Cure apart is its delicious taste with flavors like berry pomegranate, strawberry kiwi, lemonade, watermelon, tropical punch, blood orange, and lime. Staying hydrated never feels like a chore. If you've ever struggled to drink enough water because it was too boring, Cure makes it exciting and refreshing.
Got some of that strawberry kiwi and lemonade in the kitchen, and the fact that everyone in the family can drink it.
Give it to
Dunzo. Yeah, game changer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Plus, there's serious science behind it. Cure follows a formula based on World Health Organization guidelines. Hydrating as effectively as an IV drip, made with high-quality ingredients like coconut water powder and pink Himalayan salt, and rigorously tested for quality. It's even FSA eligible.
Hydration goes beyond just drinking water. It's about replenishing the electrolytes we lose through sweat, sleep, alcohol, and daily activities. Water alone isn't enough to do the job. That's why you need Cure, the electrolyte drink mix that tastes as amazing as it makes you feel.
For Sinisterhood listeners, Cure is offering 20% off your first order. Stay hydrated and feel your best by visiting curehydration.com/creepy and using promo code creepy at checkout.
That's curehydration/creepy and use code creepy for 20% off your first order.
Well, this next one is from Jesse, and it's called Stalker in the Warehouse. Hey, spooky aunties. Stalking Awareness Month has come to an end, but this story occurred during January. You've talked in the past many times about women who were stalked by romantic partners, and many of which were murdered as a result. This story is a little different. It does not involve a female victim or a romantic partner, and thankfully, no one was murdered. Nonetheless, this was a terrifying incident of stalking that happened to my brother-in-law. First, in-law is my least favorite thing to call the man married to my sister. It does not begin to encompass how much love I have for this man. He is my brother, and for this story, we'll stick to calling him K. He is the most loving dad of 2 absolutely hilarious children, a 9-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. Recently, he was promoted into a manager role at the warehouse where he works. The company he works for is a very large, very well-known hardware store. I think this is important to know because his company was amazing in how they helped manage the situation Kay found himself in. After being promoted, Kay had to fire a man we'll call John. John had some anger issues, to say the least. By the time Kay became his manager, John was already on his final notice for things like yelling at coworkers, verbalizing threats, and punching walls and equipment. Kay said the meeting was civil. He explained to John that the behavior was not something they could allow in the warehouse and that he wished John the best in life. They shook hands and Kay escorted John out of the building. John said he understood and did not blame Kay for what was happening. This happened on a Friday afternoon. Kay had the next 2 days off, and over those next 2 days, John started to send him texts every 5 minutes. They were a spew of rambles, a stream of consciousness sort of thing. He told Kay that he had grown up in the small town Kay and his family lives in and knew it well. He reminisced about his childhood, his failed marriage, how hard it was to lose his job. These things did not concern Kay too much, but he thought it was weird that the man he had just fired was sending him so many random messages. But then things started to take a more, shall we say, sinister turn. It's important to keep in mind as well that Kay never once responded to these messages. He didn't think it was professional to do so. John started telling Kay that his dad taught him how to hunt, asked if Kay had taught his son how to hunt. He told Kay about his favorite guns and type of ammo he preferred. He said things like, "Your kids probably go to XYZ Elementary. Did you have a nice weekend with your beautiful wife? Was that your daughter's basketball team I saw?" Kay really started to get concerned with the mention of the kids' school and guns. He decided it was time to contact the police and HR about this man. He copied all of the text into a Word document, a 27-page document of this man's ramblings. HR told Kay he should block the number, but Kay said he didn't want to do that because what if the next message was a picture of the kids getting off the bus or the front of their house? This is a point I've never thought about. Is it better to save yourself from being bombarded with messages or knowing if the person is outside with a gun? The police told Kay they could file a restraining order, but that obviously John would know that Kay initiated the order. They could also do a welfare check, as some of the messages hinted to self-harm. But in our area, these are also not anonymous, and John would know that Kay sent the police to check on him. Kay didn't think any of these were a very good option. The police and HR spoke at length and came to the conclusion that the company could file a restraining order, which basically said that John could not contact anyone employed by the company. HR then hired a private armed security officer to escort Kay from his car into the building and from the building back to his car every day. My sister, as a true crime listener herself, never lets her kids wait at their bus pickup alone. She heard an episode of yours about a little girl whose mom ran inside to pee and came back out to find her daughter gone. She assumed the bus got her and later learned the little girl had been kidnapped. Ever since then, my sister would rather pee her pants than let her kids stand at the corner of her street alone, even in her, quote, safe little town. Eyes are on these amazing babies 100% of the time. My sister and Kay watched out for John for weeks, never knowing if or what could happen. 2 weeks after all this started, my sister saw on the news that John had been arrested for breaking and entering an abandoned building in the nearby bigger city. We don't know why he was there or what he was doing, only that he had been arrested and posted bail. So far, that's the last of what we know. The text stopped, the armed guard was released from his contract, and John is out there somewhere, hopefully not planning nefarious things.
Man, that's the catch-22 of being in a stalking situations like that, is if you go and report it, then that oftentimes causes a person to escalate. But it's like, you've got to have some sort of legal recourse if they won't stop. 27 pages.
I also had never really thought, if I block him, I'm not going to know what's going on. And is it better to know that? Or,
Right.
I think maybe there is something to be said. Like, I'd rather just ignore the messages, but at least be kept in the loop. If pictures of my kid's school starts getting sent to me, of course, you need to know about that.
For sure. Yeah. Maybe like mute notifications, so you're not having to look at it, but there's like a record saved of what all they're sending and everything. Because that, it's so vital. You got to have, all this to back it up. But yeah, as soon as you start going, oh, I know where you live. Do your kids go to, Smith Elementary? Oh, interesting. Like, that's escalating. And especially if you start talking about guns and stuff.
Yeah.
But stalking, intimate partner violence and stalking is scary, but as is like professional related. I've had I've had colleagues who are either family law attorneys or even like personal injury kind of attorneys that would have angry, aggrieved parties from the other side, either like come up to their office, leave them a lot of reviews, get their email, get their text message, like message them stuff, drive by their house and whatnot. So I was always very happy that when I was a corporate attorney, that I was like, these private equity funds are never going to like come to my house. Because that's truly like when people, you start not threatening, but in this case, it's like, I'm sorry, man, we've got to fire you. Now he sees Kay as the reason why his he's not getting money. And so that becomes his other target and his obsession. But hopefully he has moved on, that he thinks whoever called the cops on him is the next target or something. And it's not Kay anymore.
Good for Kay's company for taking it seriously and getting involved and figuring out with the police how to kind of circumvent him knowing that Kay did it, but still having some kind of, paperwork, restraining order.
Right.
But yes, I wholeheartedly agree, Jesse. I hope he's not out there doing nefarious things and that's the last y'all hear of him.
For sure.
Well, this next one's from Abby, and it's called, So You Need a Refund Due to First Degree Murder? Hi, Christy and Heather. I love the show and have been wanting to write this story in for a while, but I was too spooked the person involved would find me. But it's been a few years, so oh well, let's hope for the best. A couple years ago, I went with a group to a nearby city for a weekend birthday trip for our friend, leaving the location out just in case. We were a group of 5, so we chose to stay at a Verbo rental instead of a regular hotel. We got the whole plan together pretty last minute, so we weren't very picky when finding the Verbo. But I read a couple of reviews and the place was a good price, so we booked pretty quickly. When we arrived, we all quickly felt a bit off. The art on the walls was creepy and kind of weirdly death skeleton themed. We noticed a shed in the backyard with blacked out windows that we all thought was creepy. But weirdest of all was the way it felt like we were trespassing in someone's lived-in house, to the point that there were clothes in the dressers and IDs, credit cards, and uncashed checks laying around. The Verbo renter was clearly not worried about theft or privacy. The eerie feeling was enough that I checked the bathroom for hidden cameras and two-way mirrors before showering. But whatever, we chose to ignore it. We went out for the evening and got back to the house a little after midnight. When we came back, we noticed immediately it seemed like someone had been there. Stuff was moved, doors to bedrooms that we were sure we had closed were left open, etc. But still, it was almost 1 a.m. and we'd been drinking, so we just went to bed. My boyfriend could not shake the feeling that something was off and started Googling the house and the renter. We knew the renter's full name and picture because his numerous legal IDs were just lying around the bedroom. What did he find? A mugshot of the Verbo host. Arrested for a DUI here and an assault there. Oh, right, and a first-degree murder arrest that was still pending trial. Yep, a first-degree murder charge. He was reportedly out on a $70,000 bond. Now, I know it's innocent until proven guilty, but I would also like the choice to not, sleep in the home of a stranger with a murder charge until proven innocent. Needless to say, we woke everyone up and hauled ass to the closest Hilton, Marriott, whatever chain hotel we could find in the middle of the night. The arrest had been made in April, and the Verbo host joined in June of the same year. We were there in September. It's very possible that the guy was innocent and just trying to pay off his expensive bail. But I was so furious that Verbo had not vetted hosts for pending first-degree murder charges that had not yet gone to trial. I put my Karen hat on and called Verbo, not only to get a refund, but to inform them they need to flag this seller just in case the home was not safe. I couldn't stop thinking, what if someone stayed there alone, or a group of young women, in the home of a potentially violent man? And I wanted to make sure people were aware of what they were booking before they booked, just in case. The employee either didn't understand me or was just going through the motions when I explained the situation, and said back to me in an unimpressed voice, "So you're seeking a refund due to first-degree murder?" Not quite, but I feel like that sentence should bring up some more concern. Anyway, we got our refund and have never booked with Verbo again because they clearly do not background check anyone. So beware. This is not an ad for Airbnb, by the way. Thanks for reading my in-real-life version of Barbarian, Abby.
Oh my God, Abby.
Dude.
That's the worst fucking stomach drop moment. That you Google the person's name and it's not just a mugshot, but a pending violent felony.
It really does sound like the plot to a horror movie.
Yeah.
Like and almost like in the horror movie in my head, the guy wants to be discovered because
he put his ID.
You just leave it's like, it sounds as if he was living there and just maybe
would leave.
Went and crashed on somebody's couch to make some money, or
the shed
with
the windows blacked out. Yeah. I could sleep 2-3 nights in a shed if I could if I was hard up for $7,000 to pay my bail for being out on first degree murder. Yeah. I mean, don't feel bad about the unimpressed nature of the Verbo employee saying that to you. Cause when you and I, Christy, went to Los Angeles and we were high and we booked this Airbnb with 1,000 stairs.
Okay. First of all, on the listing, it looked fabulous. It looked like some Art Deco, old Hollywood type of place. They left a lot of information out. And then once we got there, everything was unlocked and it just seemed unsafe.
The door
we
was
didn't
open.
want to stay there. Yeah. It was, and we also had to climb like 5,000 stairs.
So many stairs.
Outside, like stone steps. It was bananas.
It was nuts. And then we get up there and the door is physically open, like ajar. And we're like, to the guy. And he's like, I had to go get some sheets and stuff. I'll be back. I'll come back. And then there was a dining area with no doors that in the photos was dressed up to look like a bedroom. But when you got there, it was a trap and there was no bedroom.
There was an air mattress.
There was an air mattress that was going to be in a dining table that was right next to the kitchen. I cannot explain how next to the kitchen it was. And so the four of us are looking at each other like, well, I'm not sleeping there. Well, I'm not sleeping there. Well, we're not sleeping there.
Well, also the one bedroom they did have
was open.
Was a loft. So like no one had a door. The only door in this was the door to the bathroom, which was also very, very small.
It was an itty bitty little bathroom. Yeah, it's one of those where like, wow, the fisheye lens on your camera was doing a lot of heavy lifting for this Airbnb. But all that to say, we call Airbnb, and the guy was also, I can't recall, a lot of things occurred that I would say were a breach of Airbnb's policies. And it took like a minute to get escalated to someone who actually like cared.
On and off the phone, because we had to find a hotel, and we ended up going to a hotel, and they called you back at like 1 a.m. or something.
I was like, Airbnb just straight up just calls you
and
back.
The host called you, and he was mad that we left and was like, I'm still charging you. And we're like, the fuck you are?
I was like, LOL.
The door was unlocked. The front door was unlocked and ajar, and also a door in the kitchen was also unlocked. And the kitchen led to like this patio that you could just hop a very short fence and be out into everything. It all nuts. Felt very unsafe.
It was nuts. And so, it was these things where I was like, this is not safe. And this person has turned aggressive on us. I'm like, the door was open. He's like, I was just there. I had to go get sheets. What's your problem? And I was like, this is not a host type of an attitude. Like normally when people host you, they're very friendly. So, fuck that noise, man. I think you did the right move getting out of there. That's definitely they should vet at the very least. Pending felt like I said, it's one thing to say, well, I have a pending charge for like what I don't know what a pending felony that I wouldn't be fine with. But definitely not first degree murder. That's
no,
because first degree implies intent, so that they wanted to kill.
That's going to be the number one felony. I don't want to stay at somebody's house if they're
and murder.
Pending trial. Yep, that too.
Hand in hand.
Yeah, crazy. And
shit.
The guy sounds a bit unhinged just anyways, because just leaving his shit all out. Like, I don't think he knows how renting your property works, except for maybe the dates do kind of give, I'm trying to pay off this bail.
Yeah.
And I'm doing whatever to do it. And I hadn't really thought about that shed not being a killing shed and being his little sleeping quarters until now.
Hiding. He's waiting to pop out whenever.
Dude.
Because that's probably how he went through all your shit. He saw when you left because he was staying in the shed.
Maybe he went in there to get something. Who knows? I saw a TikTok,
he's like, I gotta get another pair of underwear.
Or like food. But I saw a TikTok the other day of this family that found like, I want to say a trap door in it. That is what it looked like in the floor. And they open it.
Of an Airbnb?
Yes. And they hear someone down in it be like, close it.
Nope.
No. And the person, they don't even know if it was the person living there because they bolted so fast. I'm sure the cops got involved. But like,
it's a Frogger.
I've heard more and more that Airbnb hosts do that, and Vrbo hosts, where they're like, there's a locked door and, they tell you like, this is the room you can't go in because that's where we put all of our stuff. AKA, I'm actually sleeping in here and haven't disclosed that to you.
That's what it does make me feel uneasy. When we were in Toronto at our very beautiful Airbnb, it was a great neighborhood for when we were on tour. And there were points that I was like, I think I hear footsteps. I think there's other people in here. And there were, because there was like another area like above us, but it really wasn't advertised as such. And I could see when we walked in that there was a basement unit, but I did not realize that there was like a door on the side that actually went to stairs so that there were like people above us. So stuff like that where I'm like, you told me that we get the entire property, like, but they're considering the property as like unit B, which is the ground floor. But I consider that being like the building. And so these are things you got to really vet, and or we can't help it. Like, we didn't know until we got there that entire unit meant just most of the house, not including the basement and the attic. So there were people in the basement and the attic while we stayed there. And it's just like, all right, then I guess this is happening.
We stayed, my family and I, in outside of LA, was it 2 summers ago? Stayed at this bizarre ass Airbnb that was just the weirdest layout. We ended up actually Googling and found out that it used to be owned by the FBI or like the police DEA or something. Yeah, the DEA. And we were like, did this used to be like a house where just agents like set up shop? Because it was so weirdly laid out, but it was also so big. And there were areas that no one really went into that all of us agreed there were people living in the walls probably.
Yeah.
Or it very easily could have been. And we probably would have never known. And so now I have like a bunch of new concerns about staying at rented places like that, because there's something to be said about a hotel where at least there's like a chain of command, and I mean, stuff happens there too.
Yeah. But shit happens anywhere, but
but like having a one-on-one homeowner versus like an entire hotel you're dealing with are a bit different.
It's definitely at a hotel, there are more people around to hear you scream. Insofar as like you want to report it, there's other people in different rooms or other people, a manager,
cameras,
custodial staff. Yeah, exactly. Cameras. It's like you can't all be the killer. But in this case, the single property manager sounds like guilty until proven innocent, or innocent until proven guilty. We don't know how it ended up, but at least the accused first degree murder.
Now, do you have to disclose that? If he was like applying for a job, would he have to disclose that?
That's a great question. And I will say, like, it has become a huge barrier for formerly incarcerated people having what's called like check the box laws that make you check the box, like disclosing that you have a felony. And I think certainly if you've like done your time, paid your debt to society, that would be a question for Verbo as to what their policies is. I don't think he's like broken any laws, but if the Verbo policy says for, it might be like crimes of moral turpitude. If someone's known to be a burglar, you probably don't want to unwittingly expose random tenants to a person who has a predilection, a history for, burglary, stealing things or whatever.
Or SA of any kind.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
I would want to 100%. Well, I mean, I wouldn't even want to know. I would say you're not allowed to rent your house out if you have this kind of charge.
Exactly. And it's like, you don't want to tell somebody who's had a prior conviction of something like, every door to the world is closed to you. But as the company, like Verbo, Airbnb, whatever, they are not responsible for third-party criminal acts unless they knew or reasonably should have known that the actor could have done that. And so it's like, that's probably why they do ask in their policy. But that's a great question as to how far should that extend? Much like it would be like a hotel that hires a desk clerk who has a history of assaulting women or a history of breaking and entering or something like that. Now you've given this person like the master key to your hotel.
Yeah.
Like you've got to do a background check. Otherwise you, the company, should be responsible.
100%. Yeah.
Goddamn.
This is a nightmare scenario. And I'm glad that your boyfriend was like, nah, we're figuring this out. And I applaud you not waiting until the morning to leave. Like, you're like, fuck no, we're waking everybody up right now and we're getting out of here.
Shake them in their bed.
That's the difference between you and a horror movie. In the horror movie, they would have waited until the morning and then it wouldn't have gone well.
The way I would have woken you up or you would have woken me up at like 3 a.m. and be like, Heather, wake up.
We gotta go right now.
Or my sister or like Miss, like I think of all the people in my life that I'm like, yeah, I think all my friends would have done, like be like, I'm going to Google this person and see what's up. And then, do not wait until everyone wakes up and that's not something you want to discuss over coffee if you get to that.
Yeah.
If you even get to coffee.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Great work, Abby. Goddamn. Sinisterhood will be right back. We just performed a show at a prestigious university and I wanted to look my best on stage. And I brought not one, but 2 Quint sweaters to choose from to wear on stage.
And you couldn't have gone wrong with either of them.
No.
You looked fantastic.
Thank you. And I'm like, I can't spend $1 bajillion because I don't have to look nice often because most of the time I'm wearing, sweats, jeans, t-shirt, whatever. So when I look nice, I'm not trying to break the bank, but I want to look like I did.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why you got to go to Quince. Quince offers a range of high-quality items at prices within reach, like 100% Mongolian cashmere sweaters from just $50. Washable silk tops and dresses. Washable silk, that's the only way you should be able to wear silk. Organic cotton sweaters and 14-karat gold jewelry.
The best price, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices in premium fabrics and finishes. We love it.
We love to look nice and we love to support a good cause.
Oh, yeah. I've got the crew neck fisherman sweater as well as the button-up cardigan. That was what I was choosing between. And I ended up going with the button-up cardigan with the shirt under it. But I think either would have looked great on stage.
They looked great.
Thanks, Quince.
A very soft navy. It's kind of like a tee, but it's dressier than a tee. So you could wear it with just jeans and look super cute, or a cardigan. I also have a beautiful wine-colored V-neck, the cashmere sweater that looks great. It's, I've never ordered anything from there that didn't look awesome.
It feels lush too.
Yes. And the cashmere sweater came with a little cashmere comb. So if there's any pilling or anything, they already set you up with how to get it off. I'd never received one of those before. Didn't even know they existed.
That's the Quince difference, baby.
Give yourself the luxury you deserve with Quince. Go to quince.com/creepy for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns.
That's QUINCE.com/creepy to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/creepy. Well, this next one is from Anonymous, and the subject line is, I had my dream job in the federal government, but Trump and DOGE just blew up my whole life. Dear Heather and Christy, I want to begin by saying that you both are truly wonderful humans. Thank you for your kindness, empathy, and insight on difficult topics, as well as your well-timed humor that always keeps me smiling. That levity has been so appreciated in recent months, and your compassion for others during this turbulent time has helped me feel less alone. As I hope most people are aware, a massive assault is being carried out on federal workers by the Trump administration and DOGE. I'm just one of the many dedicated civil servants affected by this. I'm staying anonymous out of fear of retaliation, but let's get into it. I've worked as a wildlife biologist for over 10 years, most of my adult life. It's all I've ever wanted to do. I love my job, and the experiences I've had as a biologist have been some of the most precious moments of my life. However, this field is not an easy one to succeed in. I spent years earning multiple degrees, moving around the country to find seasonal work, which typically offers no benefits, taking unpaid volunteer positions whenever available, and generally hustling my way toward my end goal of a permanent position with the federal government. Contrary to what is being perpetuated by the White House, these positions are extremely difficult to get. In addition to the vast experience gained through avenues like those I mentioned, you also need to navigate the outdated and non-user-friendly federal job database, usajobs.gov, which is the only way to find and apply for these jobs. The hiring process, from applying to interviewing to onboarding, takes anywhere from 6 months to a year. This past year, I finally achieved my goal of a permanent job with the federal government. On December 2nd, 2024, I started my new role as a bat biologist with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, FWS. My job was to develop conservation and management plans for endangered bat species and coordinate with partners and stakeholders to support our mission of protecting and preserving bats in the United States. Why protect bats, you may ask? There are too many reasons to list, but here are the highlights. In addition to being incredibly cute, they look like tiny flying puppies. Bats are vital to the health of our economy and environment. They provide invaluable services like pest control, pollinating plants, and dispersing seeds. It's estimated that bats' consumption of insects and pests save more than $3 billion per year for the North American agricultural industry. Bats are also the sole pollinator for the agave plant, so the next time you enjoy a margarita, thank a bat. Unfortunately, bats are rapidly declining worldwide. They're widely misunderstood and often face persecution. To make matters worse, a fungal disease called white nose syndrome has claimed the lives of more than 5 million bats since its discovery in 2006 and is spreading across North America at alarming rates. If you live in North America and feel like there are more mosquitoes than there used to be, I'll give you 3 guesses as to why. I love bats more than almost anything, and it was my job to protect them. As soon as Trump took office, federal workers started receiving a deluge of unhinged, threatening emails from the White House and DOGE, Elon Musk's unofficial made-up department. It began with the White House informing us that the, quote, wasteful and discriminatory DEIA policies were over, and anyone involved in DEIA-related work was to be terminated. If we knew of someone with a DEIA-related duty, we were told to report them, as they were allegedly trying to hide their association with the, quote, deep state. If we didn't comply within 10 days, there would be consequences. The language used was appalling. It created an us versus them atmosphere, telling us we were a drain on taxpayers and part of a corrupt system that had been allowed to operate unchecked for generations. Remote workers were forced to return to full-time, in-person work, despite the conditions under which they were hired, because federal employees working remotely was considered a national embarrassment. Despite my colleagues and me being highly productive and dedicated, We were told we couldn't be trusted to work from home. Meanwhile, our president, speaking from his golf course at Mar-a-Lago, stated, "They're not working, they're playing tennis, they're playing golf." No, Mr. President, that's literally you. These are just two examples of the mistreatment and hostility we faced in the past few weeks. But then came the, quote, fork in the road email. Long story short, this email offered us the opportunity to resign and be paid until September, an illegal buyout offer as it had not been approved by Congress, or stay and risk termination without severance. Most of us were advised not to take the deal, as it didn't seem legitimate or legal. We had until February 6th, extended a few days due to lawsuits, to decide. When they didn't get the number of people they wanted to resign, Trump and his DOGE team came after us. As a probationary employee, I was subject to a mandatory 12-month period for all permanent federal workers. On Friday, February 14th, I received an email at 12:30 inviting me to a 1 p.m. meeting titled Updates for Probationary Employees. I logged on with about 420 other FWS probationary employees and was told that while it had nothing to do with my performance, work, or dedication to civil service, I was fired from the federal government. I was given 2 hours to get my affairs in order before being locked out of my government email and accounts. There was no prior notice, no explanation, and certainly no severance. We were just done. Make no mistake, this is illegal. You cannot fire probationary employees without cause, yet no one has stopped this. The administration's efforts to purge the federal workforce are wildly destructive and incredibly harmful. There is so much more to say, and it would probably take a multi-part episode to fully explain what has happened, the impact it will have on Americans for years to come, and how harmful this is to every citizen. I loved my job. I worked so hard to get there, and I was incredibly proud to be a part of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. I'm devastated by this injustice. I don't know what's next for me, as this has always been my dream job, and this heartbreak is unbearable. We are not faceless federal employees who are conning the government out of taxpayer money. We are dedicated civil servants, some of the hardest working people I've ever met. Now, we're all unemployed, and the services we provided and worked so hard to support are gone. Thank you for reading my story. Love you both.
Oh, man. I am so sorry, Anonymous. This is a story that we keep hearing every day.
Oh, yeah.
Every fucking day. And now they're saying Musk isn't even in charge of DOGE. It's some lady named Amy Cleason. Oh, where does she live? Not in Washington. So she's working remotely as a federal employee.
Fuck you. What?
Dude.
Fire.
And
you
also,
gotta be fired.
Nobody even knows who she is. And
it's a lie, by the way. That's a lie.
Oh, yeah. In the Levitt press interview today, she's like, they're like, who is she? Like, she's like, there's a lot of people that work for the federal government that we don't tell everybody who they are. So
you have to.
First of all, can I just, as an aside, take a moment to say how fucking much I hate that woman?
Dude.
I hate that woman so much that my whole body has tensed up just imagining her in her butthole mouth, just spewing hate and getting pissed off at everyone for asking a question.
That's like this big, with
Dude,
a cross about
asking questions or answering questions is your fucking job, and you act like you're just doing everybody a favor to grace them with your presence.
Grace
Gold digger.
Grace Helbig did a really, really good impression of her with just a cross that was probably like 12 inches long, being like, "I'm here!" Like she definitely just is a very aggressive
and nightmare, and she's married to like somebody that could be your grandpa.
Yeah, I mean, it's goddamn.
It's I'm done being nice. So
no, truly.
You know, and
fuck a bunch of that.
This is crazy because you worked so hard to literally have the job of your dreams just be yanked out from under you for no other reason than the billionaires think that all of this is stupid and they want the money to go in their pockets.
They want to privatize the federal resources. They would like to drill and frack at national parks. This is not, I'm not an alarmist. I'm not making this up for our centrist friends that listen, for our if there are any conservative friends that are still listening, like I
never still listening.
I mean, I hear. I mean, you might want to turn it off, right? But it's like I'm not an anti-conservative.
There's been a lot that have turned it off lately.
Yeah, the 1-star reviews, by the way, if you're listening to this and you like the show, for God's sakes, go leave us a 5-star review, because all of our most recent reviews are just like, they should shut up about politics. I'm sorry, there's a fascist dictatorship taking up presidency. I'm a lawyer. I fucking have to say something.
Yeah, we're not going to shut up. So fuck off. If you want to go leave a 1-star review, that's your prerogative. Yeah. But the ones that are on the right side, if you could go leave us a 5-star review, that would be great, because people that are pissed speak up more than people that aren't.
People that are happy generally don't leave reviews. Assholes freak out and leave more reviews in all kinds of places. So
I feel like it's crazy to not talk about it, because it's literally destroying lives by the minute in a way that is completely unprecedented. Like Jane Fonda said in her speech the other night, the time is now. Yes. This is our documentary. It's happening before our eyes. We cannot wait for something, which is what I said the other night. Yes. Like, we're all just frogs in a pot, and they're turning it up to see what we'll take. And everyone, I feel like people are waiting, or a lot of people are waiting for some
hero
catastrophic event to occur. Like tanks driving down the streets. We're there, you guys. We don't have the tanks down the streets, but we're already in the catastrophic thing. So it's already happening. We're in it, and we've been in it for years. It's just ramping up at a crazy pace now.
And it's like, what are you going to do about it? But a big part of this is now becoming targets of not just our national parks, but the people that maintain the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, that maintain the ecology of our entire country. So you kind of go like, I could save a lot of money every month if I just don't pay my mortgage. There's a fucking terrible consequence to that, right? Like, I lose my house. So it's like, we could just like save a lot of money firing all those fish and wildlife people. Okay, well, the fucking world's going to be overrun by mosquitoes now because the bats are dead, because my daughter Anonymous, who was dedicated her life to fucking saving them, now doesn't get to go save them. Or the guy that tests the water to make sure that if you go kayaking and you fall in, you don't get fucking dysentery like we're living in the Oregon Trail. So as much as people say they want to save, I want to save money too. I want to audit things. I do think a certain small percent of fraud does happen, certainly, but doing a legitimate audit, it's like one thing if I said, I'm just going to go into my bank account and freeze all payments, all of them, so that I'm saving money by not paying Netflix, but I'm also saving money by not paying my gas bill. But then whenever my hot water is not hot, I'm like, what the fuck? My hot water's not hot. So what DOGE has done is just turn off all the payments and fire all the people that do those things. And so when we go to take a shower and the water's not hot, it's like, what's happening? It's like, certainly you're, quote, saving money by not paying your electric bill or your gas bill, but there are consequences. So when we see these types of cuts, these are the types of consequences of like, why don't we have a response to bird flu? Well, they fired the people doing that. Well, who's supposed to be in charge of the nuclear weapons? Well, they fired the people doing that. So sweeping giant cuts like this should not happen. And I think all Americans, and you go, like, what do we do? What do we do? Truly, regardless, wherever you're at, calling your representatives and your senators does make a difference. They were saying their asses are getting tight because of this budget that's coming up in the next few days. They're going to slash Medicaid. They're going to slash Medicaid. There are going to be people that cannot get hospital help, cannot get medical help near you. And it matters where you live, and the redder where you live, the more it matters that you call in. It's like, I'm a constituent. I am worried about this, because that's the next big huge thing you're going to hear about people that are dying for preventable illnesses.
They said, because one of the, I believe it was from Kentucky, a Republican flipped, and he said they made good points. And it was something like $278 billion additional national debt will occur within the next 5 years under this plan. And then the following year, it's like another 200 billion. Numbers that we can't even really grasp because they're so astronomical. And like, for who is this benefiting?
Billionaires.
The billionaires.
So the tax cuts, you can see the tax cuts. Yes. The majority of tax cuts. And again, if you just it doesn't even have to be a partisan thing. Just look at the numbers, and the numbers are you and I and everyone else have no tax cuts. And the top 1% making $400,000 or more has an enormous tax cut. And the quote unquote cuts that are coming from our services have been Alzheimer's research, education, cancer research, which they then go back and try to give the money back
DEI.
After they've taken away. Yeah. All that stuff, DEI, stuff like that. So all that to say is calling does matter because lawsuits are being filed. So as unstoppable as they feel like they are, and it might seem that way, I never want anyone to go, well, it's a mandate and everybody wants what's happening. They don't.
No,
Even
they don't.
A portion of people that thought that they did still don't. And there can still be things being done about it insofar as organizations filing lawsuits, representatives standing up as they should. And so making those phone calls and like being a part of it's, I think, a huge deal. And if you want to leave me a 1-star review, eat my whole ass, because in 10, 15, 20 years, and if America still exists, I would like for someone to listen back.
We're all wearing our red cloaks and being forced to work in labor camps or have babies. Then we'll talk about that 1-star review.
For sure. So shit like that, it's like, it is what it is. But thank you, Anonymous, for taking the time to humanize this and give us a face. I can't recall what news organization it was that did like it was a montage. It was a montage of like, I'm the water guy. I'm your janitor at Yosemite. I love national parks. Paris and I go to national parks. Mm-hmm. They're beautiful. They're important. They'll knock you on your ass, the views. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And also the ecology. I like a margarita much like the next guy. Save the bats so I can fucking tip up my Presidente margarita at the Chili's.
It's wild. It's
Elon Musk is taking my Presidente margarita. I don't think so. Not my Presidente.
Not me. Not my Presidente.
Not my Presidente.
We got to get that on a shirt
for sure.
Right with Trump licking Elon's two left feet.
Hell yeah! Him licking the feet was pretty funny.
I will also say I have noticed a huge uptick in mosquitoes, and now I have facts to back it up that I'm not crazy. And everybody last summer in my neighborhood was like, are we crazy? There's way more mosquitoes than ever before, to the point where we bought a bat box. Did we install it? No, we haven't yet.
Next year.
But we're going to install it now this year, because that's, why use a bunch of chemicals and stuff to get rid of stuff when you can use what nature has provided?
No, definitely.
Keep them alive. Everybody has their place in the ecosystem. And when we keep yanking things out of it, we're all going to fall apart.
Right. It's almost like that was all an important interconnected building block of our entire life and society in general. So I thank you, Anonymous. I commend you for what you do. White nose syndrome is a serious thing. I've seen Donald Trump Jr. suffer from it. Elon Musk, I think, is suffering from it.
I wasn't expecting.
So I was like, glad.
You know about bats with white nose?
Well, I've sure seen a man put his finger in his pocket and then rub his gums and then act all like jittery. So yeah,
they don't even hide it. They're just snorting rails straight up.
No, Elon Musk is on ketamine.
What's his name was drinking whiskey from a highball under the podium.
Oh, who was it? Head chef? That guy's constantly drunk. Head chef is constantly drunk.
Isn't even supposed to drink, because I believe
he's like, if you put me in office, I'll stop drinking. I'm like,
I'm not going to say what kind of charges, because I don't know if I'm right, and I don't want
not great
to speak he was on that, but I think they're not great.
No, I think he was one of the ones his mom came out and said, like, he's a violent person, in a letter was like, you're a bad guy. Come on now. It's like, well, if your mom thinks that, yikes. Well, anyway, thank you for all you do, Anonymous, for white nose syndrome. It's a little more rampant than we knew.
And I hope that you get to have your dream job back in some capacity. And for all those other people that have been fired so abruptly and so wrongly,
I hope it's a temporary blip on our temporary mar on our republic. Heather Cox Richardson's really great. Robert Reich's really great of people to for following in-depth analysis to be like, has this ever even happened before? It's and sometimes it has, and how it ends up, or what people have done and tried and not tried. So I find solace in history. Although when you start repeating it, it's like failing an open note test for sure.
Yeah, when you start repeating the worst parts of history, it's hard to stay positive. But to your point earlier, there are millions of people that think this is wrong and that agree with us, and they are out there. And all it takes is everybody getting together and being like, fuck all y'all, we're not taking this. And then you all storm into the governor's ball singing Les Mis, and they're all too stupid to even understand what's happening. But that's what we got to do. They want us to lay down and be overwhelmed and depressed and not be able to get our shit together. And we can't do that right now.
Just be defiant as hell.
Sinisterhood
will be right back.
This episode of Sinisterhood is brought to you by Graza. Graza is our olive oil of choice. It's top-notch extra virgin olive oil at an affordable everyday price.
Graza is always fresh, never blended, and made from one kind of olive from one place, the Picual olive from Jaén, Spain, where over half the world's olive oil is produced.
Graza also offers 3 unique varieties for any cooking test. Yes, that's right. No longer 2. We got a 3rd. We had sizzle, drizzle, and now we've got frizzle.
Frizzle's entered the chat.
Drizzle, and frizzle olive oils at law. Frizzle is their newest blend with an impressive 490-degree Fahrenheit smoke point. Perfect for frying, crisping, or grilling. Then you got sizzle at 410 degrees Fahrenheit. It's your everyday hero for roasting, marinating, sauteing. And then drizzle, Heather and I's favorite, a bold, punchy finishing oil that elevates your salads, breads, even ice cream.
Oh, baby. I had some drizzle on my toast this morning with a little feta, a little seasoning, some over medium eggs. I feel like I had like an elevated, elegant breakfast, but it's also super easy because it's very convenient. Graza comes in these super fun squeeze and spray bottles, so you don't have to have tins or drippy spouts or anything like that. You just aim, squeeze, blammo, you're ready to go.
It's fun. It's fun to squeeze that too.
Hell yeah.
You'll get 10% off your first order of any olive oil on their site, but we wholeheartedly recommend the trio. That's all 3 squeezy bottles, sizzle, frizzle, and drizzle. So you're set for every style of cooking.
So head to graza.co and use Creepy to get 10% off the trio, which includes sizzle, frizzle, and drizzle, and get to cooking your next chef quality meal. Well, this next one's from Sierra, and the subject line is pulled over by a fake cop. Hi, y'all. I started listening to your podcast on my long drives during work. I work in construction on the side of the highway. Yay, me. Around November 2024. I've definitely been binging and currently on episode 266. Thank you both for the laughs and cries. Now, on to the story. This happened in 2018 when I was working at a building official's office at the ripe age of 22. I lived in Tumwater, Washington, and my daily commute was about 6 miles away to Lacey, Washington. One morning, I was running just a little bit late to work. Got my butt in gear and my good old 2002 Acura TL and made my way there. As soon as I got onto the highway, I hit traffic. I thought to myself, great, now I'm really going to be late. Decided to make an irresponsible decision and try to speed through it. Not even a mile into my drive, I noticed a tan/old people brownish/gold, sorry old people, 5.0 Mustang trailing behind me. It kept up with my speed and literally followed me the entire drive the minute I got onto the highway. Thought it was someone just also late to work and maybe I paved the way for it. I got off my exit and went through a couple of stoplights to get to my job. The Mustang was still right behind me. I thought it was weird, but at least I was going somewhere where I would be seen and heard if some creep was following me. I pulled into the parking lot of my job and the Mustang followed. I parked, turned off my vehicle, and gathered my things to go inside. As I was getting out of my car, the Mustang that followed me had parked right behind my vehicle and turned on the blue and red lights. As I thought to myself, God damn it, dude. He literally could have pulled me over on the highway. Why did he have to follow me all the way here? A large white male with a beer belly, Thurston County Police uniform, and a crystal ball for a head walked up to me and asked, "Can I see your license?" I scrambled to find it as I was already running late and nervous because at this time, I didn't know fake cops were a thing. I observed him look around at the building that I worked in and that had lots of windows facing toward us. As I couldn't find my ID quick enough, he asked me, "Why were you speeding?" "Oh, I woke up a little late and needed to make it on time for work," I replied. He said, "Well, maybe don't do that next time. Have a good day." He didn't bother with my ID and let me go. I thought this encounter was weird as he wasn't pressed about my insurance or my ID. I also know the area quite well, and the, quote, undercover Thurston police vehicles were never any type of sports cars, let alone a gold Mustang. After this, I really didn't think about it. Years later, I met an officer on a dating app that had worked in Seattle. We had good conversations, and he was a very nice guy. Didn't last long, though. This encounter popped into my head, and I thought I'd ask him if that's a normal procedure of doing a proper traffic stop. He said, "Thurston County doesn't have any fleet vehicles or undercover vehicles like that at all. It's not a procedure we use to conduct a traffic stop either. Once we see someone speeding, we pull them over right there. That seems to me to be a person that was falsely portraying a police officer." I was shooketh. I had no idea that people even have the balls to do that. I asked him, why do people even do that? What's the point? He replied, well, some people use that false authority to kidnap people and use them in sex trafficking or possibly for their own personal reasons that can lead to death. Holy shit. After finding this out, I remembered the car wasn't marked in any way of identifying itself as a police vehicle, and the lights were just inside on top of the windshield and nowhere on the outside or the back. I don't remember if the officer even had a badge. I'm really glad I dodged a bullet with this one and really glad I worked in a building with lots of eyes and windows. Since then, I only trust fleet vehicles that are marked, just in case. Thank you for sharing my story. Love you both and keep it creepy.
Yeah, that guy for sure wasn't a cop.
No!
That's one of those where it'll keep you up like, what if I hadn't pulled into a place with a bunch of windows? Like, what were his intentions? Just to flex and live out some weird fantasy of being a cop and powerful over women? Maybe something way worse. Either way, it's fucking illegal. And also, what police officer is driving a old person Mustang?
Yeah, like what? Who chose that car? I mean, I guess it's whatever he had and he just got the light.
But anybody can buy those lights, which is what I don't like. Like, you can go to those spy shops and get like police lights and stuff. And people, especially if you're like flustered already, you're running late and, you know, you're not really thinking straight, you might not realize like this doesn't seem like a real cop, or, you know, and they take advantage of that kind of shit.
You're like, this isn't adding up, but you only realize it afterwards because in the moment you're like, oh fuck, I'm getting a ticket and also I'm late for work, and also they take advantage of your brain being overwhelmed by just the situation of being pulled over. I remember when I was a little man, before I could drive, accidentally watching the evening news. You know, it's funny, Paris and I were watching the morning news today, just like on Channel 4 or whatever, just like local news. And I remember as a kid, like we would just have that on in the morning and the evenings, and it would just be savage stuff. And I to this day, I'm 38, and I remember as a child, I don't remember what year it was, but a long, long time ago, a man in Richardson, which is a suburb of Dallas, was driving around doing this. And it was like, police tonight want Dallas residents to be on alert for a fake officer who has been pulling over women in Richardson and sexually assaulting them. The women have been pulled from their vehicle. And I was like, well, first of all, never, ever forget that. But it was like a Crown Vic. So it's not even like, oh, a gold Mustang. I mean, even more of a deception, and dressed in a suit, you know, with the fake badge or whatever. So it's so scary when you think about like, I want to comply with the cop that's pulled me over, but I have concerns about my own safety. And I am of the opinion that if you have been pulled over and you have any suspicion about the cop that's pulled you over, just call 911 and say, I've been pulled over by a police officer. Can you confirm that there's a police officer right now? Because I feel uncomfortable. And if it's a real cop, they'll just wait until you're off the phone.
Yeah. They won't be upset by it. I mean, they might be a little perturbed, but they're not going to flip out or anything. And you're well within your right to ask that. You don't have to roll down the window. And if you're being followed by someone and you're like, I don't think this is a legit cop, don't pull over, especially if you're on the side of a road by yourself. Like, drive to an establishment where there's other people. You know, if they want to get into it with you, then explain yourself then. But it's one of those things where people use a position of power that isn't even rightfully theirs as a way to intimidate people, and also like approach people in a way they couldn't otherwise to do ...
Yeah, God knows what. But yeah, if you're being pulled over and like you said, you feel like that's not a marked car, that feels weird, calling 911 and saying, I'm happy to drive to a police station. Please let the officer know I'm not evading arrest. And if it's a legit officer, they can radio them and tell them that, because I would be worried not only on the sexual side of things, but police themselves. And this is a totally other conversation. We should probably do like a mini-sode on it because it's fascinating. The idea of civil asset forfeitures, where the cops can, depending on jurisdiction, just if they feel like you committed a crime, they can just take money, vehicles, objects, your laptop, your phone, whatever, and just it's theirs. Other situations apply, but that could be another thing is you dress like a fake cop and you're like, well, I think you were using that phone. Go on now. Let me just have your cell phone. I'm just going to keep it. And, you know, if somebody's got a gun or whatever. So just have to be aware of. But you definitely, Sierra, you dodged one with this for sure.
Yeah. Good on you for just driving straight there. And also following up later, even if the guy didn't work out. You got some answers that will, much like you watching the news at a young age, I'm sure this will imprint upon you as well.
Yeah, it sticks with us all. Well, thank you. Sinisterhood will be right back. Well, this final one is from Jules, and the subject line is Kids Say the Creepiest Things. Hello. Firstly, I want to say thank you for your humor. Things seem rather dark right now, and we need some laughter now more than ever. There's more I could say, but let's leave it at that. I thought I would add to the levity by sharing some mini tales of how funny yet terrifying young kids can be. A few months ago, my husband was away for a week-long work trip. The first night he was away, my 3-year-old came into my room crying, so I let him sleep next to me. The next morning, I asked if he remembered why he was so upset. He told me it was because there was a shadow in the hall, and it was staring at him. Well, despite knowing that no intruder could ever make it past the chattiest husky cross of all time, or up our ancient creaky stairs without detection, it was like my blood froze. Outside, I said, "Wow, that would be scary. Good thing shadow people are only in our imagination." On the inside, I thought, "Thanks, kid. I guess I don't need to sleep this week." Sometime later, my son and I were playing in our living room. It was late afternoon, but still light out. I noticed he kept looking up at the ceiling. So foolishly, I said, "I notice you keep looking up at the ceiling. Do you see something up there?" My son just nonchalantly shrugged his shoulders and turned back to his toys. After a moment, I heard him say, in the really quiet, creepy way kids in horror movies speak, "I'm just looking at the shadows that live up there. That's all." Another time, we were playing in our front entry hall. It's a narrow space, but my son likes racing his cars there. It was getting darker, so I got up to turn on the porch light for my soon-to-be arriving husband. As I walked back over, my son suddenly blurted out in an odd voice, "Mama, there's a face in the door." Again, I froze. Our front door has a window with faceted glass and metal detailing for semi-privacy. Someone would have to be directly peering into the window to show their face. I didn't want to look, but since I was the adult in the room, I had to. As I turned, I was very relieved because while there was a face, it was mine. My son was looking at my reflection in the glass. Then, in true kid fashion, he giggled as he scampered off while I tried to stop my heart from racing. I wish it could end there, but it doesn't. My son has a 1-year-old brother who seems to enjoy unsettling me also, despite his more limited vocabulary. His favorite thing? To excitedly wave to someone in the next room while saying, "Hi, hi," over and over. The problem? There's never anyone there. When I ask to whom he's waving, he just looks at me and giggles. I don't think of myself as someone who startles easily, but there's just something about the way kids oh so innocently say the most unnerving things without scaring themselves that gets to me. Even though my sons don't listen to your podcast with me, they've unknowingly taken your weekly advice. Those kids are literally keeping it creepy.
Oh, girl, I relate to this. It is, why are kids so fucking creepy?
I'm just like, looking at the shadows.
The shadows that live up there on the ceiling, Mama. I'm just looking at them. It's like they don't understand that they should be scared, so it just comes off in this matter-of-fact way that's very unnerving.
Yeah, I'm just waving at the man in the black cape. And you're like, there's no, what? Why are you saying that? Why isn't it ever like, I'm just waving at the little doggy in the corner? Yeah. It's never anything that's like happy or good. It's always like just a big shadow mass that follows me down the hallway. You're like, oh, fuck, great. I guess I'll have to exercise the house while your dad's on vacation.
Dude, great. We were at dinner the other night. And Ella turns to you, and I told you before, this happens weekly, daily.
I love her so much.
She just goes, "What's your greatest fear?" And I was like, here we fucking go. We're all trying to just enjoy some chips and queso.
It was great. To be fair, she was like, "What's your favorite animal?" I'm like, "Polar bear." She's like, "What's your favorite color?" I'm like, "Purple." I also like green, though. She's like, yeah. "What's your greatest fear?" I was like, "Cool." So we went animal, color, and I was like, snakes?
And the first two were just primers because she just wanted to get to the fear part.
Answer. She'll answer. What's your favorite color?
She said,
it's some Monty Python shit where it's like, what?
You looked at me and I was like, I told you. I said some things you just can't talk about. Yeah, Ella. And she's like, well, just tell me. And I'm like, we can't tell you the real things we're scared of. Your
I was
sweet
like,
little brain can't know those things yet.
I started extrapolating because my answer was going to be, I don't know why I would be in this situation, but like bungee cord situation, a parachute, it doesn't open and you are now rocketing to your death by something that was frivolous and you didn't even need to do in the first place. You know what I mean? That's my fear, which is stupid, but whatever. That's what came to mind.
It's avoidable, at least.
That's true. And then I go, well, it's kind of like grown up. So maybe like, how about, and Tommy's like, what's your favorite, like you could share with or not favorite, what's your greatest fear? You could like,
favorite fear?
What's your favorite fear? You share with everybody. And I was like, maybe if I was hiking and I had improper footwear and I wasn't paying attention to the trail and then a snake, because I don't want her to be afraid of hiking. And I'm like, you can easily avoid. But I was like, if I wasn't watching myself and I wandered where I shouldn't be and I was not wearing protective boots like I usually wear and a snake bit me out and I was like by myself and nobody could come and get me, I'd be afraid of that. And she was like, okay, but what was the grown-up one that you didn't want to tell me? And I was like,
she wants to know so bad.
And she's like, people fall out of planes? And I'm like, yeah, and the parachute doesn't open. She's like, that's a thing? I was like, you asked, I don't know. God.
Dude,
well, sorry.
She asked me the other day in the car and I was like, oh, I mean, something happening to you and your brother? And she was
what
like,
do you mean?
Like what? And I'm like, I'm not going to go down this road.
Like, give me the specifics of what
she certainly has her mother's inclination for creepy and spooky and macabre things, but we got to pump the brakes on what she's allowed to know.
I just am kind of like, I don't want to like be the one. No, of course not.
You don't do anything.
Sue is on her own. She's like sitting like I love that girl so much. God, I love her. I feel very blessed that she's like, feels comfortable to ask me stuff. You. Oh my God, I adore her. And then I don't know what everybody was saying, but she was kind of, scooched down in the booth next to me and I just looked over at her and she was like, Pennywise. She just looked
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. I just died laughing and I just mustered. I was like, fuck. Because she was like under the table kind of and she was like,
Pennywise. The amount of times that they both talk about Pennywise on the daily.
How do they feel about this monkey bucket that Tommy brought home?
I don't know that they've seen it, but I'm going to burn it because I don't want that thing in the house. He got a popcorn bucket that looks like the monkey from The Monkey. Yeah. And I don't want it in the house. I feel like it's something's going to happen.
You're like,
that shit's going to start happening when this thing's in the house.
This thing, it's the drum in the popcorn bucket is bigger than the drum in the movie is what I noticed. Because you got to fit the popcorn in it, but also I was like, it kind of makes the monkey seem smaller. So maybe it's funner and not as horrifying.
Maybe. The monkey in the movie was way bigger than I was anticipating.
The monkey in the movie was like child size, like a toddler. It was like as big as Simon. Big. It was huge. Yeah. Well, we saw the monkey over the weekend. If y'all haven't, no spoilers, but sound off in the comments what you thought. But yeah, what a goddamn. This is what's your greatest fear? Scary, certainly, but Jules having someone be like, they're right outside the door, mother, is also pretty up there. That's my greatest fear is that you tell me you see a ghost in the house.
And that I am the only adult. Yes. And so I'm like, I got to be the one to deal with this.
Hard relate to that. Where you're like, oh, yeah, I guess I am the grown up.
Damn it. This is on me. Okay.
Well, great one, Jules. Great one to end on. Thank you very much. Yes. This was what a lineup today, as always.
It was a lineup. Well, thank you everyone for sending in all of your Freaky Friday stories. If you have an odd but true story, maybe you've encountered Bigfoot, you've seen a UFO, you had a brush with true crime, or you felt the presence of an otherworldly being, send them in at sinisterhood.com/Freaky Friday.
Well, thank you to everybody that's been joining us for our Sunday Scaries live streams, Sunday nights that we have been doing on our YouTube channel. Wouldn't you know, there's been some roadblocks, some digital roadblocks. So we're going to pivot and be streaming still totally for free, open to everybody, but we're going to stream live on Patreon. So you just punch in your email. It's as much of a sign up as subscribing to a YouTube channel. But due to some restrictions and editings and things that have happened, we're going to have
infringement.
That's what they're called. We're having to, I argue it's fair use, but the copyright owners don't always agree. And just the YouTube system itself is just automated and it's just a robot. So, to hopefully, make it a freedom stream, we're going to start doing our freedom stream on.
Jesus Christ.
The Sunday Scaries freedom stream.
Who knew that commercials from 1982 were going to get flagged for copyright infringement and you got to take it down or your channel gets flagged. So
the fuck, man.
We're going to do it on Patreon. But like Heather said, you don't even have to subscribe to Patreon at a paid tier. Just join for free. And by doing that, you also get a free audio content, bonus content sent to you once a month. And there's a whole backlog of free stuff you can watch too. But this will allow everyone to watch via a platform that is not going to, I don't want to say censor, but make us take a bunch of shit down. Yeah.
Or selectively edit. So we might try to figure out a way to maybe put the replay up on YouTube just so it's like easier to grab for everybody. But the unedited, but it would be an edited replay on YouTube. The full uncensored, unedited version will have to be now streamed for free, totally free. It's not a free trial. We're not trying to make you sign up for anything, but it's over at patreon.com/Sinisterhood. And if you've got a video you want us to watch for Sunday Scaries, go to Sinisterhood.com/Scaries. It could be something weird. Like we got some weird old trailers, some old, I want somebody to send in dig some stuff up from the muck. I'm excited to see
that Garbage Pail Kids trailer.
Like 80s stuff.
Was a good cut. God damn, those things are scary as hell.
fucked up stuff. But anyhow, so check that one. We might have to put the uncensored cut on Patreon just because YouTube was censoring it. So anyway,
flagged.
All that to say, Sundays, 8:30 Central, we're still doing our live stream. We're just pivoting where we'll be at, and we're going to have to shift. Pivot. Well, speaking of Patreon,
if you like our free episodes, you'll love our Patreon bonus content. You can join for free to see what we're up to next or dive into over 1,000 hours of segments like Judge Christie, where I rule on petty grievances you bring before the court. I've got 3 gavels now. Heather's wearing the Judge Christie t-shirt. Thank you for representing. True Crime Headlines, where we break down the latest news and updates in true crime. We just posted one with an update in the Idaho 4 case, as well as some other major crime updates. Rex Heuermann. We got Heather's Saves, where anything Heather has found, late night scrolling could be discussed. And that's always just, it's like when you are at the fair and you're like, I'm just going to pay you $1 and pick out anything in this bucket. You don't know what it's going to be. And that's what it is.
I'm locked and loaded for our next saves. I've got them lined up. So I'm excited to share.
We also have Am I the Asshole, Unpopular Opinion, and a ton of other subreddits that we feel require input. We have a new Am I the Asshole coming out that's can't wait to hear people sound off in the comments about these.
You will never forget it. We also offer free trials where you join for free for a week. Check out the perks and cancel anytime before the trial is over without getting charged. When you join, what else do you get on Patreon?
Ad-free episodes, monthly live stream Q&As on the 3rd Thursday of every month, quarterly live bonus content, weekly audio bonus content, mini-sodes, merch discounts, and a community of the best listeners on the whole internet.
Head over to Sinisterhood.com and click shop on the top banner to check out Sinisterhood merch like t-shirts, mugs, totes, stickers, and even clothes for your kiddos. And be sure to check that pin post on Patreon to get your merch discount code.
Yes. While you're on our website, you can also review the show. Like we said, we'd love some boosts of 5 stars to counteract all the Christian nationalists that are trying to just tank our show.
Thanks. Yeah, please.
You can follow us on socials and check out the episode description. You'll also find fun things like topic-based playlists. And we haven't even mentioned Crime Wave at Sea 2025, but you can find all the information there.
We're about to mention it right now. Crime Wave at Sea 2025 is the ultimate true crime festival at sea. It is your one and only chance to go on vacation, not just with Christy and myself. Paris and Tommy are going to be there. We're also going to be traveling with Ed and Henry from Last Podcast Side Stories, Dan and Lynn's from Scared to Death, as well as the gals from True Crime Campfire and more. It's going to be a great time. There's going to be panels. There's going to be the belly flop contest that Ed's apparently hosting. I volunteered to compete in the belly flop contest.
Live shows, fan meetups, so you get to meet other like-minded people. We're going to be there hanging out too. It really is
buffets.
A very exclusive one-time type of thing. So a lot of people have already bought tickets, and we are so thankful for that. There's still some available. It is limited though. So before you get tickets, you have to go get your fan code. So make sure you get the fan code for us so they know that we sent you.
That you are with us. Go to crimewaveatsea.com/sinister. get the free fan code, and then that will unlock all the different, amenities and whatnot. Because it's got all the cruise stuff too. You're doing a whole ass 5-day vacation with us. So all the cruise
leaves
food,
out of Fort Lauderdale. We're going to the Bahamas, the private island. We're going to have a day at sea.
Through the Bermuda Triangle.
Straight through it, baby.
We're going to see you there. We'll follow us over on Instagram and Threads at Sinisterhood Pod. Like us on Facebook at Sinisterhood. Watch full video versions of our Wednesday episodes ad-free on Patreon as well as on YouTube. You can watch clips from the show on TikTok and order your own custom video shout-out from us on Cameo. Where can people find you on the internet?
I am on Instagram and Threads at Christy M. Wallace and TikTok at Christy or GTFO. Heather?
I'm on the internet at Heather versus the world.
As always, the devil rules the airwaves.
Keep it creepy.
Sin